No fancy frosting swirls, no sprinkles or sugary decorations. All this Italian almond cake needs is a dusting of powdered sugar and maybe some fresh berries and cream. It's moist and fluffy with a zesty lemon kick. Elena Davis says this is the cake to make if you're assigned dessert duty for Easter dinner. Is that right?
Yes, Easter dinner or brunch. It's just a light dessert that's perfect really for any occasion. So many people have made it so far, and one thing they love is it's naturally gluten-free and dairy-free.
Oh, because sometimes you're going to an event and they say, oh, and we have 3 gluten-free, and you're like, okay,
and
so this is what you bring.
This also just tastes so good. And it's made with almond flour. It's not like gluten-free stuff, so it's not heavy or weird. It's just made with all natural ingredients, but it happens to be gluten-free and dairy-free. However, I'll show you if you want to add butter instead. Okay. You still can.
Now, we call it an almond cake, but there's an Italian name, I understand.
Yes, torta di mandorle.
Torta di mandorle.
Mandorle.
And what does that mean?
Mandorle is almonds.
Okay, well, there you go.
So we're using,
it just sounds so much more delicious.
So we're using almond flour, and then we put some slivered almonds on top, and so that's why we just call it the almond cake.
Okay, I love it.
And we flavor it. So I've whipped our egg yolks and egg whites separately, and that's the hardest thing you're gonna do for the whole cake.
Okay.
It's just separate the eggs, beat them separately. In here, I've added, if you wanna smell, I've added the lemon zest, the almond.
Beautiful color.
This is where I added olive oil.
Okay.
You can also add butter, or if you're not a fan of the olive oil taste, which actually kind of gets neutralized in the cake anyway, you can add a neutral flavor oil like avocado oil or whatever.
Okay, and then this I know always takes longer than people think.
Yeah, so this is just, but this is just beating the egg whites, and there's really not much to it.
Okay.
Beat them separately, and that's gonna also kind of leaven the cake and make it light.
Yeah, you can tell that that's gonna lighten it up. How do we, so we start with these.
So now we start with this, and we are just gonna fluff up our almond flour, and I have some baking powder in here. And then we're going to now just start mixing our wets and our dries, and we don't wanna over mix it. So I'm just using a dough hook here, which I love. And then I also added almond extract in here with that lemon, and it just starts
lemon and
to
almond.
smell. I know,
they
they're
pair
just
well.
my favorite. You could also do this with orange if you wanted, add an orange twist to it, or whatever. So at first it's gonna look a little bit thick. Okay, so we're doing almond flour, and that naturally is just a little bit thicker than regular flour.
Good to know to expect that.
We're just gonna start with a little bit here, and you're just gonna start mixing it in. And at first it's gonna seem a little doughy, but you get your arm workout today, so keep going.
Yeah, because you whipped those obviously with an electric beater, but all of this you're doing by hand.
So now we're just doing it by hand, the old nonna way. And she, my grandmother, Nonna, would whip the whites with a hand whisk as well. So
the way those Italian nonnas make their pasta, and they're using their hands so much.
Yes. So we don't want to take too much air out of the egg whites. We really want to work it in, but we want to make sure that it's really well incorporated. And once that's all really nicely incorporated, we put it in our springform baking pan, a round baking pan.
And you've sprayed this, or
yep, we've sprayed it. And then we're just gonna pour that in there, top it with the almonds, and it's gonna look so pretty, just like the one over here. And
so when you put the dough in your pan, you put the almonds on top, or do you put the almonds in the bottom of the pan and then put the dough on?
It just goes right on top. And I'll be able to show you that in just a second as we get. So now,
and you said, we see some strawberries that you've used, but you could really use any berries.
Yeah, and you know what else I've done too is sometimes I will incorporate some berries inside, raspberries specifically.
Okay.
I'll just toss in a handful of raspberries right in there into the batter. And now look at this nice smooth batter that we get. It's like at first you think, oh my gosh, this is not gonna come together. But then it does.
Yeah, and it does smell great. You can smell it from
so
here.
Creamy and smooth and yummy, and how easy was that? And you get to meet all the different dietary restrictions that are
That is the key. I think so many of us are looking for something that we know will turn out yummy, and having those gluten-free, dairy-free, and this way, you know, Elena's stuff's always delicious, so I think we're good.
Thank you so much. And then it just bakes for 25 to 30 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
Take it out, dust it with powdered sugar, serve it with berries and whipped cream if you like. I like to just eat it plain. It's just so soft and tender and moist that I don't think it needs anything else, but it is fun for a special occasion just to dress it up a little.
Yeah, make it have a little color. Now, I know people will want this recipe. We're going to have the link on our website, but where can we find more from you?
cucinabyelena.com, and on Instagram. I'm there every day, so shoot me a DM, say hi. And I'd love to connect with all of you, so thanks
Thank you,
so much.
Elena.
Thanks.
All right, like I said, we will have that recipe on our website. Just click that recipe button on studio5.ksl.com, and it'll be right at your fingertips.